What is up, guys? Aldo here. Welcome back to the channel, to the live stream. Figured I'd give you guys a live stream. It's Monday, and you know, market open. We're down a little bit. The E Trade is doing better again. Came down a little bit. We'll see what happens. I mean, I still think regardless of what happens over the course of this month, macro kind of a rare bull sign right here. I mean, I guess you could argue if it's like freaking December 24, it was a sell signal downward. Usually it's not as bloody as that. Like usually coming from red to green here on this 4 day would be, a little bit more good, more good. A great English right there. Something like that could be doable. Let's just see this situation, that's more like that. That could be a market top. 8,200 in December. That'd be a good scenario, a really good scenario. You could argue this is a little bit different from the low there to this high. That's more extended. That'd probably be into next year or something. Let's see where the hell this would come on. I mean, a lot of this doesn't point to. That's interesting. 7,400, 73, 7,400 into the end of the year. There was a case too. Excuse me. If you were to do something like this, now this was a quick, situation upward. If you were to do something like that, then yeah, you could be up to, these points in. I did say in the title of this October, it's doable by the end of October, but probably more likely in November. I'm thinking October because that's like 18 months after Bitcoin halving, so that could be kind of the peak, but. Yeah, now when you look at some other things, it's like, and this right here, so that'd be end of October. End of October would be the earliest I could see it happening. I think it's better to be more optimistic, based on what's happening. Tesla did have kind of a jump up. Pumped Up Fun, this jumped up a bit. I bought this back like here or something, and then just let it ride for a while. Now in my head, we'll see what the hell ends up happening with Pumped Up Fun. That could be the next meme coin that does some damage. I mean, we'll see. It'll probably at least hit that point. What's nice about this, cent and a half. Okay, so it kind of has normal numbers. And then, you could do some damage. We'll see what happens. It's very hard to say. And then Solana jumping up. So a little pullback here, but we'll see what ends up happening into the end of this month. You got the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. I would guess maybe nothing too crazy will happen until that happens. I mean, you're not coming into that FOMC meeting overly bullish. You're coming in more sideways, range bound, and that would likely propel us upward or downward. I would guess upward. I mean, you could argue sideways and consolidation is a form of correction. So if you argue that, then that would potentially bring us upward. So yeah. What's up, Wonderbar? What's up, Ice? What's up, Carlton Way? ETH versus Bitcoin down a little bit. That's some consolidation there. I do think with the FOMC meeting and a rate cut, in all likelihood, this should continue forward. I think 7,300, 150K Bitcoin would be at these points. So I think you're at least going to get up to kind of this area for ETH versus Bitcoin here in the coming months. So that's what we're looking at. It's like a Bitcoin itself. Continuation on the weekly, I think that's good. Overall, pretty good. I think the 2 week, this is kind of my estimate of an Aldo science here. You're going to get a green dot. You're going to continue forward. Talking with a New York, New Jersey accent. You're going to continue forward. I don't know what people probably say, no, it doesn't sound like anything good. Yeah, I get you. And then October, November, green. And I mean, it's something like that. I don't know, or higher, maybe 154, something like this, and then the red dot. Doable, definitely doable here. But I think the next red dot on this, and what's good is most likely it's not going to be that red dot that was your market cycle top. The next one after this could be your market cycle top. If it is in quarter four, and we look at previous red dots in quarter four of post-halving years, November 21, it was a pretty nasty situation there. He came up a little bit, but then not the best situation. Quarter four, 2018. Yeah, that was a damn good sell signal there. I mean, and then just getting out at the right point there, right around January 1st. Yeah. There's that point. I think it is a pretty important FOMC meeting. I generally think we should continue forward for the coming months. So yeah, and that's HNT there. Solana, I think, my goal for this into end of month has always been around 266 up to 280. Maybe a little correction there and then continuing forward. Hopefully a double into the market cycle top or something. XRP, let's take a look. What's up, Joel? So yeah, XRP. Yeah, I mean, trigger wave forming the 6 hour. I'm curious about XRP in like the really high time frames. Yeah, I mean, you'll probably get that red dot of doom, sometime in Q4 here, and that'll be, on that 2 week, and that'll be kind of be the end of it. Probably around somewhere in the $4 mark. People are really, almost feels like 2017 into, a lot of this cycle kind of feels like 2017 into 2018 or into 2017 year, especially with XRP, because it has like, the cult following is just really strong and really back at it. And I mean, yeah, I don't blame them. It's up from, you're slightly ahead of your old all-time high there. So, I mean, or you're slightly below, I should say. But, so if you can get, this cycle maybe 30% upward, maybe more, we don't know, maybe a double from there. Could hit $6. I don't think it would go much above $6, but, just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. So yeah, yeah. Appreciate you, Schooland. Yeah, Iconashes are good. Not for every single thing, but I like Iconashes, especially for the type of trading I mainly do. And yeah, so I think XRP, green dot in the weekly, should be able to continue forward here. Maybe a little bit more consolidation. Before so, helium hitting a big point. One of the many that could have a jump. Wanted to look at VeChain. Is one that, some of these are kind of, okay, that's having a little rejection there. Maybe the Binance chart is not the best one to look at here. I'm not doing much yet, but yeah, hopefully continuing forward. Yeah, some of these just don't have the, in December 24, that was such a nice jump. And then, so, yeah. But the thing here I wanted to show you guys. So, September is obviously pretty much a done deal for 25 basis points. October's, let's see, that's a done deal for another 25 basis points, pretty much 76% very likely. Even December is almost a done deal, I would say. A lot could happen in a few months, but December very likely to be, another cut. And January likely to be, based on this, a pause. What happened January this year after you saw some cuts? You saw a pause. And then what happened? Everything collapsed. So it could be, there's definitely going to be some curveballs. History doesn't repeat exactly, but it could be kind of similar. It could be similar to that. Into your bear market we see each time. So yeah, there's that potential. And let's see here. Wave right there trying to come down eventually. AVAX I think will eventually jump up to 49 at least here in the next couple months. That's probably worst case scenario for this thing. It could easily jump up higher towards all-time highs though. I think there's some potential. Thing too is like, it's been creeping up a little bit, which is good. AVAX ETH I think is really good here, so there's definitely that potential. I think into rate cuts in all likelihood, what you saw too. And if we look at, for example, others versus, or actually, it's like a total 3 minus, it's similar to others versus ETH, but let's look at it versus Ethereum. Oh, what did I do? Oh, I forgot the versus sign. Divided by, yeah, so likelihood, you saw June 23, July 24, so a little later this time, but, at least some type of situation similar to this, where this brings us, that's summer of 26, but, yeah, you had a good damn run there. I think it'll be more like this, maybe, because that was kind of a big part of your alt season. Like, that was the main part of your alt season. It was early that time. Here, it was, see, this was later. It could be a diminished return version of this. I mean, I guess it could be crazy like that. Who knows? But, you know, this would be very momentous if you can see, like, I mean, it would correspond very damn closely with what the Fed is doing if this really starts to, you know, have a big jump here, which I think, if I had to guess, I think it will. It does look really good against ETH. Especially if things stay bullish, so, yeah. Over leveraged treasury funds, sure. I mean, hard to say. There's gonna be some type. I think it'll be more unemployment, man. I think it'll be more unemployment. That'll be part of it. Unemployment and other, maybe more international crap, Russia or whatever, you know, stuff like that potentially. So yeah. Crow, so that took a beating. It should hit, you know, that's the big, okay, yeah, that's the big area that we've been waiting for. So I mean, if this has any hope, it should jump here, I would think. Yeah, three. I mean, I guess it depends on the general structure of the market to a certain extent, but you should have. And what was this correction? It's probably what, 50% or something. You're quite a bit, 40%. Yeah. So yeah. And then hopefully jump up a little bit more. I guess if you want to be really freaking, you know, bearish, here's the, yeah, I mean, doing that, then reject from that point, and that's all done. But I think you got a little bit left in her. She's got a little bit left, you know. So yeah. A lot of people become crypto millionaires. It's like, I think if your average alt is a 2 or 3x, there's a lot of potential, yeah. Let's look at total 3. So total 3 is almost at, surprisingly, I mean, you wouldn't, it's almost at a new all-time high. So you wouldn't think, though, because, you know, a lot of alts haven't done too well, but there's always those new alts and those meme coins and whatnot that have kind of, you know, made up for that. Look at that minus, yeah. And this should jump upward to, and if you look at previous, let's just look at like previous, you know, basic logic here. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna go up to 3 trillion. It could, man. That'd be almost too good to be true on this shit. Like, you know, all these TA people, including I mean, there's probably so many people drawing the same damn thing, though. It could. I mean, that's a little bit, yeah, December, it could. I mean, that would be crazy. Everybody's going to be, you know, when you talk about it with all your friends from high school and stuff, this, you know, when you see them this Christmas or whatever during the holiday, it's going to be like, everybody's going to be freaking talking about it. And that's the thing, too. Like, this bull run was a lot of the patience mark, I guess, because, I mean, you see this was an early bull run. And that was, you know, this one was like a later, you know, kind of peak. I mean, obviously your peak was later, but the real, like, meat of this altcoin run was here. And then this one was there. So, I mean, can you see something of this situation happen? I mean, maybe. That's similar trajectory. You know, maybe, you got time. I mean, it's doable, you know, based on history. History would tell you, you may see something like this. What do I make of those who say that rate cuts? I mean, it could, yeah. You could be bearish for 2 weeks after it, you know, and then October could be green. I guess if you want to be really damn pessimistic, it could, but I think there's enough bullish signs and stuff that the rate cuts will generally be okay. And I think they'll give us the altcoin season that we've really been, you know, kind of waiting for here. You know, if you can get a 2 or 3x on a lot of these, I mean, people are going to get back in the seat. They're not really, you know, completely back in the seat yet. We're trying to, yeah, that's about TikTok. Yeah, let's see here. I wanted to look at, I watched the documentary on Netflix about him. Not bad. I'm not going to say what it was, but with the, with his medical diagnosis, I don't know, what was it, 10, 15 years ago, the scary one. Well, now it's more the technology is so good. I mean, I guess it's one pill a day now, and it's almost undetectable, and you could live normal kind of life expectancy. Shoot, I gotta put something. Let me just put this in the fridge real quick. I want to look at fear and greed. That's coming up, which is good, I think. But yeah. Sorry about that. I'm back, and let's see here. Never beat September gains have never beat October in Bitcoin. I don't. Somebody, I guess, ChatGPT that. I don't know. September gains have never beat October. Yeah, so October should be good according to that. It could be different this time, but I am expecting October to be good. Hopefully, I'm right. I think that the no-brainer thing is we got to wait for extreme greed here, and that's probably your pretty big sell signal, which it'll probably be some point in December or January, maybe October at the earliest, maybe. So yeah, there's kind of that, that situation there. And, oh man, I'm just thinking, so yeah, I mean, you got that bounce, you're going to stay neutral until probably Bitcoin makes a new all-time high or something, I would say. And I think more people will get in the seat, especially with the Fed cutting and everything going on. Now, what's interesting too, and what probably will help us out, is if the Dixie keeps breaking downward, which, I mean, my view was that the Dixie's kind of would have bottomed, and I did call it right there when it had bottomed in June, but now it's coming back, down. So, oh man, I'm trying to think here. Oh man. We're over leveraged for BMNR. So the thing too is they have leverage, man. I'm pretty sure SBET and BMNR have leverage, and they're probably doing a very more degenerate version of what Michael Saylor did. I'd be careful with those personally, but who knows? Maybe they'll get rich off of them. The people I know that own those are, well, not everybody, but the BMNR, I mean, it's a small sample size, but there is some dumb money in those, I'll tell you that much. What I want, well, the thing is, obviously, with you want to look at it versus ETH. You want to look at it versus ETH. It's generally, you just look at, you had the jump up, and now you're trying to jump higher against ETH. So I mean, yeah, if you bought it over here, it would be pretty good. If you buy it now, maybe it'd be pretty good. I mean, there's some potential there. SBET versus ETH as well is one to look at. That's not as, I mean, I would argue it's kind of, if ETH comes up, it should freaking, bounce here, I would argue. But I mean, the thing too is it's like, it's down 92% again. I mean, if you bought up here, you not good. You're down 92% against ETH. And if you buy now, maybe there's some potential, but there's just too much damn volatility with this. You got to be careful. I mean, so yeah. See a self on Wednesday? I don't know. I don't know what we'll see for alts on Wednesday. I don't know. It may be kind of sideways into the... Well, you should break upward or downward after. I would guess maybe upward. We'll see. Or downward. I mean, see what happens with these. What's the big... What was it? 20 weekly? Or... Let me add in the EMA. So there was that big EMA. A lot of people have been talking. No, wrong one. Exponential EMA. Moving average exponential. Add that in. And is it? I think it's definitely a 21 EMA on some time frame. I'll take a look here. There we go. I think it's this, yeah, 35. I would think that's like worst case scenario. I was in a Twitter space with Ben Cowan like a week or two ago, and he was talking about that point, potentially retesting that. Yeah, big point. I mean, it doesn't really, it bounces off of it sometimes, but yeah. It doesn't have to bounce off of it, you know. It can. So yeah, I always appreciate you guys smashing the like button. If you guys are interested in trading, check out BloFin. Oh, this promo just ended, September 14th. We'll get you something new though, but it's still 20% off your fees for life. So my link. BYDFI is still doing 9 days to go, 42 seconds. ETH giveaway for trading, and check it out with my link down below. 20% off your fees for life as well. So check it out. So yeah. I mean, it could, man. I mean, it could be after the meeting. Maybe sell the news for a few weeks, get people a little bit scared, and then you continue forward. You know, for kind of an altcoin season, October to December. So potentially, I want to look at the altcoin season index and coin market cap, because it's been. I mean, who the hell knows how accurate this is going to be? I mean, if anything, I would kind of guess this would probably, the fact that it's almost an altcoin season is going to tell us we're probably going to pull back or whatever. But, you know, I mean, I think there's some, you know, this is probably obviously based on TA, based on history. And, you know, I think there's some, yearly high. Yeah, I mean, you had, so let me look at this on, I was only out 90 days. Interesting. Okay. But yeah, and that's, you know, kind of, yeah. Anyway. So it would tell us something's kind of brewing. No, I was looking at BMMR in the last, you know, I know what you mean. Yeah, I was looking at it too. Well, let's look at that again, actually. Yeah, I mean, since here, yeah, I mean, this is, it got the jump up because of ETH and all that, just like SBAT. Now it's down 80% against it. So, I mean, hopefully nobody bought it, you know, up in these points. Hopefully you waited till here at least, so you're not down that bad against ETH, because, you know, if you buy it here and it jumps back up, then good, you know. We'll see. Trying to remember when I was talking to some people that were buying this. I think they were buying it like over here or something. So they're not doing that bad against ETH, you know. But I would be careful with it, I'll tell you that much. 97% sell. I don't know, what do you mean? Oh, 97% hold. Okay. Yeah, if Jerome sounds a little bit more hawkish, so then you'd see a bearish week or two. I don't think it would keep you bearish into the end of the year or to do a market cycle top, but what do I know? Maybe it's all done. I'm gonna look at ApeCoin for some reason. I know it hasn't really done anything yet. 57 cents. Yeah, just nothing. But trigger wave right there on the weekly. So I mean, hopefully you're hoping for $1 at least. Yeah. You're just not, you know, you're not quite there yet. But maybe with the rate cut, maybe even back in more of that situation. I mean, let's see the last time. Let's say, you know, September of 24 they were cutting. You know, this led to a big jump. So if you could see the same, you know, situation into the end of the year, I mean, it could be kind of like that for a lot of things. So then you're back up to $2, which is a nice run up, you know, 3 or 4x from here. So I think your average alt might be able to pull that off. Let's see if your average alt does a 3x. Like, what would that be what would that be here for total 3? What would that be? And now, well, a 2x is up here, so a 3x would be, yeah. I mean, 3 trillion is not impossible. Now, that would be a crazy couple months, but not impossible. And based on history, you may hit it. Now, distance from this to this, you know, distance from this high to that high. Let's actually see that. So from previous, that would equate to this point. Now, that's not equating for diminished returns. Diminished returns would, you know, tell us it's going to be less. So, yeah, I mean, but no, it's looking good to make a new all-time high for total 3. And I think the thing, too, with alts that's kind of, you know, been rough for a lot of them against Bitcoin is, well, it's kind of just picking the right ones. A lot of the legacy ones didn't do as well. This is coming down a little bit now. If you look at others versus Bitcoin, now, the previous 2 big jumps here, I mean, this whole, yeah, all that 2017, they, you know, kind of did well. all of 21. They in most of 2020 and 2019 as well did well. Actually, you know what? I wanted to look at, because now this year is different based on this chart. But if we look at total 3 versus Bitcoin, this one's a little bit different, and it gives us maybe a little bit more hope lately, because you're seeing the jump there. And I mean, later in 2017, it didn't even freaking start until October, which is wild. That jump up, and then here, this jump up here. Now, this is obviously earlier. Can you see something similar in quarter 4? Maybe, maybe not, but maybe. That would kind of point to that potentially. I don't know though. So it's something we got to keep our eyes on. Now, my strategy, 2 things I'm really looking forward to, start getting the hell out of this market. And I mean, I have a lot of Ethereum, so I'm pretty happy with the new all-time high, although right now we're below the all-time high, but that's life. And, 2 things. Number 1 is 3-week, potentially getting a red dot. I don't think that's going to happen at least until October. 2-week, let's actually look at that. Ooh, that's what's different than Bitcoin too, because that's going to be, that's the thing too. This 3-week red dot may not actually be, it may be the next one, or it may be the monthly. So that monthly, definitely get the hell out. That's going to be a bad sign once that prints, I would say. Not financial advice though. Atom versus ETH just falling off of a cliff. Atom, a little bit cooked, in some ways, but hopefully you get, your 2 or 3, 2x or something up to these points again. Let's look at, dead coin example, Dash. That jump in 2021 says just, dead as a doornail here. I mean, 94% down. And then you can also look at Litecoin, which has had a tiny bit of hype lately, but not too much. Potentially, can this go 4x? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. Can it go 2x? Probably. Things of that nature are more likely here. So yeah. And Gemini, so that's okay. That's tough to say. If it follows, Coinbase from its inception, it's not going to have a fun 2026, I'll tell you that much. Well, let's see. What did, this market cap right now is 83 billion. And, from its inception, okay, yeah, it didn't, 92% down, from its inception. So 83, it's still below that too. So it kind of started at 83 billion. Now, Gemini is valued much less. This one. We don't even know the market cap. How do we not know the market cap? That's interesting. Interesting. I feel like you gotta know the market cap though, right? Like how could? That's actually curious about. Yeah, the top 20. They should make some index. Wait, CMC 20. I mean, it would be nice to be able to buy these, It'd be nice to be able to buy those, invest in those. Crypto ETFs, Bitcoin. But the thing too is if we look at like Gemini market cap, because it's going to tell us kind of what the inception of it was, right? Here we go. So 4 billion, a much smaller company. I mean, if that were to go down, I don't know. 75% downward would be like 1 bill. I mean, if it's like Coinbase, it would be a similar situation. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know if I really. And then Winklevoss kind of screwed up a little bit with that Genesis thing with the yield stuff. I mean, it's like Celsius a little bit, but not as bad. But and there still was, not as good or whatever. And that kind of probably hurt their reputation to a certain extent. forget what ended up happening with that. Curious if anyone even knows. So yeah. And by the way, guys, here's the trades over on BitFi. If you guys are interested in trading 10K worth of ETH, if you want to sign up with my link down below for BitFi. The link in the pin chat is for BloFin. This just ended though, but you still get 20% for your fees for life. We're going to do a new promo really soon with BloFin. So yeah. They probably, unfortunately, Scootland will be a little less. I mean, would it be more if it hits? The weird thing about this is it bottomed before Bitcoin, which is pretty wild actually. Because if you look at like where, yeah, 77. So we'll see. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Elon bought more of his own stock, so I guess you could copy trade him. He bought Tesla. You should buy. Yeah, I mean, can this hit 600 by end of year? I don't know. It'll probably go. I mean, crypto and Bitcoin would probably do really well if this keeps pumping a lot. I mean, let's look at Tesla ETH, because obviously ETH, yeah, a little jump against ETH here, but yeah, I would think ETH should be able to outperform it a little bit more. See what happens though. But yeah, I mean, I think Tesla's a pretty good bet. It'll hit 600 at some point, you know, maybe end of year. 11K, you would not make a new all-time high, I don't think, against. Well, if we look at individual cycles, I mean, that was January of, you know, I mean, this is kind of from this whole, this one's a little weird. Yeah, I mean, let's just map it out from like previous cycles here. So we would need a 400%er. We would need ETH at probably at least 11K, if not more, to get a higher high than there. It's probably not going to happen, man. It could happen next cycle, though. Like, you could do something like that, more extended, though. You could do something like this. I don't think you're going to get back up to these points, but you could definitely do something like that, I think. So there is potential, I will say. There is potential. So, yeah. But that's years, you know, years away. Here's about how Warren Buffett's doing and all this. I mean, the thing with this is I think, you know, the big thing to compare this to obviously is, you know, like S&P 500. And he's down quite a bit. Well, not that bad, but, you know, from March. But it's like hitting such a big freaking area, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he should have a good 2026 because he outperformed it in 2022, 2018, you know. The DAI does pretty well in the bad decades and bad years. I mean, that's when you generally want to invest with like a 95-year-old is like when times are a little bit more, you know, riskier because, you know, somebody who's 95, you know, they're more careful with stuff. I mean, it's 50% bonds. So, yeah. And it's property and casualty company. Curious about the insurance ones too, because like, and they're still doing pretty well. I think this could 50 billion market cap. It's pretty good to get to this area or something. End of decade, I would think. I mean, just slowly, gradually keeps going. Yeah. Thing with this too is like, yeah, because you like broke up from that. I mean, 08 was a freaking catastrophe for this, I'll tell you that much, but yeah. If you're looking at, I mean, it probably wouldn't be as, your next correction, yeah, I would guess 60. Where would 60 bring? Yeah. It probably, like those big points, like 2022 are those huge points, so it'll probably, that's where, yeah, it would probably like hit something like that. 2032, I think, is going to be like the big buy year. That almanac crap will tell you that, you know what I mean? That almanac thing. I don't know if that's that thing that with the pattern, it's like 2032 is like the bottom year or whatever. Like you would, yeah, something of this nature. Let me like zoom out a little bit so you could, like, if you peak in, let's say, you'd probably peak in 2029, and then, yeah, it would be more like I would think 2032 would be like the big, yeah, and that's just based on history. It would be like this, yeah. But that's only, how far is that down from where you are right now? Yeah, 30%, nothing too bad. Nothing too terrible. What about progressive? Like if we just look at, like there's a lot of like money in insurance. Like insurance is like, I mean that and like car sales are like a big staple like that. Like you're just like talking about like legacy, like pure America is like, because like other places, other places, parts in the world, people don't drive cars as much. Well, I mean they do, but they don't, it's not like in America where like everything is judged upon you, what car you have, all this type of stuff. Like it's not as like ingrained in the psyche. Like it's not as, you know what I mean? So in like insurance is like that big deal. Like those things, all those things Warren Buffett on, like Heinz ketchup, Coca-Cola, McDonald. Like that's just how do you get more? Like the guy's pissed because of Heinz ketchup splitting or some stupid crap no one cares about. You know what I mean? Like how do you get more American than that? But anyway, this one 144 market cap, and then you look at previous situations. Previous situations here, like progress 73%. I mean, that was a bad drop. Yeah, this had worse. Interesting. But yeah, I would argue, if you were to, some situation, probably, you're probably off the charts when you look at, that one. But some situation like this and like a 50 to 60% correction from there. And that, where would that bring you to? Yeah, that like line, I would say like 20, that like line in the sand in 2022 is like a big area. This was interesting because your 22 wasn't too bad, but then your 23 you had kind of a drop down. Yeah. 6,000 to 6,500 ETH this cycle. It's a reachable. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, not that far away. Yeah, 0.055. That's what I've talked about, Peter. Yeah. I mean, that's what I would think. That would probably be a good sell area too. To get out 0.054, that area. You should at least get there, yeah. So I mean, we're getting there. We're getting there. Day by day, goes by slow, but I mean, it's only a couple months away. So I mean, I'm gonna start DCing out. I think in 2 weeks. So there's that. So yeah. I mean, the thing too is I would argue. Let's look at macro, like what I was doing, like for Bitcoin or whatever. Still like hardcore macro, or actually find a different, like I want a clean chart here for this, and it would probably be, where would you end up at the end of this decade or whatever. Let's say a peak in 2029. Well, it's not going to be at $1 million or whatever. I mean, maybe. Let's actually look at that. So okay, those are the highs there. 246. That'd probably, yeah, I would say between there to maybe up to 500. I mean, that'd probably be like your worst case, because I mean, if you hit like a bear market, like let's say it's probably gonna be like an October bottom or something at like 50K, 48K, whatever. That's what I would guess. And then if you were to, what are previous, and you had this from the bottom, that was this cycle, right? From that point. From this cycle, you had this situation. I mean, a little bit more extended, right? And then from this one, you obviously had, yeah. So if we were to, I mean, it's going to be diminished. Like it's not going to be as steep, probably. Let's say we get up to, this would be assuming you hit 150 or something like here. So let's say it's going to be less than this. So let's say it's like that from the bottom. Let's say it's like this, a little bit diminished. And if that's our bottom, And voila, you're at 200K. 200K is, well, last peak was 70K in 2021, about 70K. So if we double that, a little over double that, 150. So diminished returns would tell us 200K. I know people want to be more, optimistic, but it could be just 200K, 250K, something like that. Let's say it's 200K. Right there. Let's say it's kind of that area, 200K. It could be 300K though. I don't know. But anyway, so if it's like that, let's say we do that situation, take away this one, say something like that happens, and yeah, something like that happens, and from there, you would be looking at, you'd probably see, where's the big line in this thing? You'd probably see like 70, if S&P 500 falls 50, 60, you'd probably see 70, maybe more, back down to a 60K range. And then let's say that's, in maybe probably 2030, something like there. Let's say 60K or something. This is being more negative. I could see it not being this bad, but let's say that situation. Let's say your next bull run, 4 years later. Next bull run. Let's say your next bull run. Now this is where I think, because the 2030s probably aren't going to be that great, unfortunately. This is where I think you're not going to hit like a new all-time high in a bull, maybe just 150 or 200 or something, you know what I mean? Maybe some situation like that. Let's say 200. And then you kind of do, a bad, so your double bottoms, you had one bottom in the early 70s, and then you had a second bottom in the later 70s for S&P 500. You had also in, the double O's, you had one bottom in 2002, 2003, the second one in 08, or did it bottom in 09? Something like that. So if it's like that, then you may do a zigzaggy, some situation like here, like that or something. And then this is where, you know what I mean? Like this is where your 2040s or whatever, like let's say, some situation like this, and then you get more extended in the 2040s, and where could you hit $1 million? Probably here, late 2040s, if that situation, this is I would kind of guess, so that would be if you hit it in like your 2050, let's say 2050 you hit it, that would be how many, 25 years from now? Yeah. 25 years from now, 20 years would be 2045, 2045 the earliest. I could see probably $1 million, I would guess. Yeah, bring below 80K. I'm more my DCA area would be last 3 months of 2026, I think October to December, and I would hope to, accumulate. If you need, to get to $1 million, like let's say you get to at least 200K in the next cycle. Let's say you get to at least 200K. $1 million worth of Bitcoin, you'd need 5 Bitcoin. Maybe 3 will get you there if you get up to 300K. I don't know. I would ideally want 5 Bitcoin. You know what I mean? If you can get 5 Bitcoin if you can get it at 50K, 5 Bitcoin, 250K. That's doable. 250K. That for most people, 200K worth of Bitcoin is not the most doable situation, but so yeah. We'll see what happens. But there's that, and been on about almost 50 minutes. Always appreciate you guys smashing the like button. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Market's been a little boring. There's not a whole lot. I think the biggest update here is like green crossover on ETH, which I generally think will be good. We'll see what Powell says. We'll see what ends up happening. I think by early October, you should start to really see more bullish action. So yeah. Well, I'll tell you exactly. We already know who's going to be Carlton. We already know who's going to be, based on history and based on everything else. We already know who's going to be in the damn White House in the 20. It's probably going to be JD Vance in 2028. I don't think the Democrats are going to come together and present a sane enough or grounded enough vision. I don't think things are going to be bad enough too. I think you need more of a recession to, kind of change the powers. I mean, 2020 was a recession. That was a bad situation. They printed money out the wahoo, but it still was a recession. You know what I mean? It still was like a worse economic time than it was in 2024. And people will say, well, I mean, why did, if it wasn't a recession in 2024, things were good or whatever, why the hell did did Trump get back in? And I mean, because you had literally a president who couldn't speak and who did the worst in presidential debate history, which is stuff like that's like a black swan to have someone that incapable like a Joe Biden. That's the first time in the nation's history. I mean, when did you have that last? I mean, I don't know. Woodrow Wilson, when his wife was kind of controlling it because he was kind of, brain dead or whatever. And then after, but here's what happens after. So the interesting thing too is like when you, not always, but a lot of times when you like run the more moderate candidate, like you would argue like, well, I mean, I don't even consider Trump to be that freaking like hard right. I mean, on paper, I mean, the guy has no interest in lowering the national debt or governing really that conservatively in terms of monetary policy in a lot of ways. I mean, the person who has the more conservative view would be Elon Musk, and that's not the big bill passed, all that, but he was viewed as more radical in 2016, much more radical than a Mitt Romney in 2012. So, and now with the Democratic Party has become, I would argue that probably Gavin Newsom is your moderate candidate, right? Like, I mean, I feel like just being kind of old and more, I don't know. The way he is trying to present himself comes across as a little bit more moderate now, at least compared to like an AOC or any. I mean, what are the other big names in the Democratic Party? It's Mob Dunn, the new guy who's going to be the mayor of Mubdani, I forget the name, but I mean, he would be considered more moderate compared to that, or compared to the other kind of. I mean, there's Andrew Cuomo. He's probably not going to win. I mean, stranger things have happened. I think the guy that's going to be the next mayor of New York City, most likely, that's like kind of the AOC of this cycle. But I think once you finally get that crash, you get that recession some point between 2028, 2032, most likely 2030 in my guess, but who knows. You'll see probably a big backlash against the Republicans. Who's going to be the Democratic candidate in 2032? I mean, probably something like an AOC. I mean, would they run Newsom again if he loses in 2028? I mean, probably not. Usually they don't. Sometimes in history they have. Maybe they could run Newsom again. I mean, who else could he run? I mean, it's AOC, maybe somebody new. It's probably going to be somebody pretty hard left, and I don't imagine someone like AOC will be very. So to kind of answer your question, Gavin has no chance. I kind of agree with you. I mean, I think it happened, but I kind of agree with you for 28. I don't think he would. I think they'll run like an AOC or like a kind of the leftist version of Trump, and that would win in 2032. And then you got 8 years of like your general kind of bear market or whatever. And you would see a lot of money printing. You might see a universal basic income. I mean, they tried it out for COVID, kind of. So you may see a universal basic income in, let's say 2030. They're not going to do it under J.D. Vance or Trump, but in the 2030s under an AOC, I could see them doing some type of universal basic income, some type of situation of that nature. And you will see. I mean, I don't think they would. I mean, you generally see when you see those big crashes. That's actually surprisingly, even though the rich always seem to do okay and get better, surprisingly that does change lessen income inequality overall across the board. I mean, the biggest places that you saw, '08, a lot less income inequality after. And I mean, it's mainly because the billionaires only control 5 or 10% of like the world's wealth, and generally that income inequality kind of resolves itself because when the billionaires die, like their families usually aren't as like after a few generations. It takes 50 to 100 years, but after a few generations, usually they blow all the money or whatever. Anyway. But when you see the big market crashes, like it hurts the millionaires a lot. And that's like what drives like a lot of the It's contrary to popular belief. You would think it's mostly the billionaires, but it's millionaires worth between 1 to 100 million in the U.S. that kind of, what was I going to say? That kind of when the markets crash, that has less income inequality, creates less income inequality overall. Libs have no chance now. I think they have a chance in 2032. 2028 would be tough, I don't think, and you would need a recession. You would need a recession between now and 2028, which I don't think you'll see. I don't think you'll see that. So yeah. But then I think, you could easily see, I don't know AOC herself, but you could see a character like that, like a leftist populist version of Trump in the 2030s as president, and that would be your bear market, through history, your bear market decade, and your 8-year bear market, instead of traditional bear markets. So yeah. But anyway, guys, I think I'm going to get going. It's getting a little late, been on about an hour. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys are interested in trading, check out BloFin. It is the pinned chat. Down below, you get 20% off your fees for life. This just ended, but hopefully, I know some of you guys signed up before. Hopefully you got that. And then BYDFI, this one's still going on. 9 more days. ETH giveaway for trading. 20% off your fees for life with my link down below as well. Check it out if you guys are interested. Always appreciate